Hi, so I'm Sam Kircher. I'm one of the organisers and the spokesperson for here today in Leighton Square across from the New Zealand First Convention. We're having a bit of a protest to show our disagreement with the current firearms legislation that's been pushed through, joined by Leighton Baker, new Conservative. So Leighton, could you quickly run through your guys' firearms policy? So I know a lot of us have read it, but I'm sure there's a bunch of people that would like to hear it and haven't actually...
Yeah, at the end of the day, the firearms policy needs to be developed by firearms people. So we've written a policy, but really the policy is we need to go back to the drawing table as a nation and develop a policy that works for us as a nation. So what's happened in New Zealand is a breakdown of democracy. The government's rushed a law through that's negatively affected a whole lot of law-abiding citizens, and it didn't need to. Yep. All they had to do was sit down with those citizens and say, this is our problem, how do we resolve it? Yep. And those citizens would have gone, well, let's just make it a bit more stringent controls on owning these firearms. Yep. And then people could have chosen, they could have said, hey look, I'll hand my firearms in or I'll keep them. Yep. But what the government did is they removed all choice. Yep. And then they have to pay, so that's going to cost us $1 billion, 30,000 police hours. That's all negative, and it didn't have to happen. Yes. So yeah, we put some ideas out there with the policy, but the reality is our policy is revoke what's been installed and actually develop a proper policy in true consultation with people.
Yep, absolutely. No, that sounds fantastic. So how are you guys looking to get across the 5% mark in this next election? I mean, personally, I've seen a huge amount of growth from you guys, and I'm feeling really positive about it. But how are you guys feeling?
We're feeling really, really good about it. Yep. I mean, I noticed the polls didn't really say too much about us. Yep. We had registered on them, that the news media decided not to put it up, yep. And their poll didn't actually have us as an option. So that 20% of people that had nowhere to go, yep. A lot of them are new Conservative supporters. So what we're doing is we're launching in the next week our page called pledgeme.co.nz, yep. And people can go on there and pledge their vote to New Conservative. Yep. And that way we have an accurate record of how we're polling. So we're no longer reliant on doing polls or what's happening from the media, and people can get confidence there. Yep. And then we've launched 4 candidates who'll be working really hard in their electorates. One obvious one is Elliot Otho, who's been running botany, so yep. He's going to be fighting really hard there, and he's full-time with us now. Yep. And then we're doing tours throughout New Zealand where we're just trying to get to every centre and speak to people, just say who we are, what our policies are, introduce ourselves as just your average New Zealanders that want a better nation for our kids. Yep,
fantastic. So when you guys make it into government, will the firearms policy be non-negotiable?
Yeah, the whole firearms, redoing it, obviously like I said with the firearms policy, yes, going to the table and sitting around with people to actually develop proper firearms policy, but will be one of the main conversations that we had to get into Parliament. How much influence we have is determined by the voters. Because if we get our goal of 20%, we have massive influence and we can do a whole lot. If we get one candidate and 2%, we're much less influence. And so it's really up to the voters. If they want us to make a change, they've got to get behind us. Because once we've got the percentage, then we can make the difference. And one of the big changes between us and other parties is we've been really, really clear on what we stand for. And so our policies are up on our website. We put them in black and white for everyone to read. They can snap them, they can vote them, they can challenge us on them, but we put them there so that they are going to be held accountable for those once we get into Parliament. Yeah,
fantastic. Oh, well, thank you for turning up today. It's been great to have your support, and
it's been a great event. A whole lot of different people here just hanging out in a really good attitude. I love the way you've got the Barbies going and people just hanging out. It's really well done. So congratulations.
Not your cliche protests.
Not your cliche protests.
Thanks, Leighton.
Cheers, Sam. Thanks for the interview.
Cheers.
Well, Winston Peters has just turned up.
We cannot give you an answer now. We haven't seen the whole lot. But we will deal with it responsibly. And we've never taken a knee-jerk reaction to this matter. We understand the genuine interests of people who've had a long association, as many of us have, coming off a farm with guns for specific purposes. And so that's all we can say at this point in time, but we're here to probably answer 5 or 6 questions if we can.
Well, what we'd like to know, I guess what we'd like to know is, are you going to support the current amendments as they sit, or are you going to look to talk to the government to actually change them and get it a bit more fair and reasonable for us?
Well, the current amendments, as they said, are out there for consultation. It's available for all of you to make submissions. we've heard all sorts of people say it's not long enough, surely it is. And when they're all in, we'll then tell you what our deliberations bring up. And if we are supportive of changes as a consequence of that, when you talk about the current government, you're looking at it. This occasion too, like the media, that it's not a coalition, because it most certainly is.
What about the highly truncated process though? It's normally a bill would be up for consultation, it would be in process for 6 months, and this has been shut down purely.
Sorry, can you start again?
What about the truncated process for this though? To some extent it's almost an administrative bill in some areas, and it's been rushed through to hit a politically sensitive date rather than being dealt with in the normal, thorough and careful way that a bill should normally be reviewed. It's a very short time for us to put submissions in. It's a very short time to process everything.
Well, if there's a law on, mate, you do it in a week.
But this isn't a
You've got
law.
all the way to the end of December. How do you mean it's a short process?
Didn't we have the first tranche get rushed through within 2 weeks though? Surely isn't that a little bit moronic in itself?
Yeah, but none of that is set in stone, so to speak, as we get the whole package put together and assembled. And there's still deliberations, all sorts of submissions being made by all sorts of people, where things are being taken out, things are being added on. And our meetings on this matter are weekly at the moment. So when you say rushed, well, how much time do you want?
Normally the process for any bill is 6 months, is it not?
No.
Except for an emergency.
Well, we got an
The
emergency.
second bill, there is
emergency's
nothing
been
in the
created.
second bill which is of an emergency nature. They've already dealt with semi-automatic rifles and rather a lot more than that if you look at what was covered. This is things like tightening up regulations on shooting clubs. Whether you think that's necessary or not is another question, but it's been pushed through. Effectively, there's only about 3 months because it includes the period of closure over Christmas and the New Year. And this is purely to hit a politically sensitive date to pass the bill for the anniversary of the incident that nobody here particularly wants to talk about.
Well, that's all news to me.
Well, please have a look at this because it's extremely cynical.
No. You made the proposition that it's all designed for some politically sensitive date. Well, that's news to us for a start. The second thing is, when you talk
It
about...
is true.
No, well, hang on. Let me finish.
No, don't argue.
You want an answer, mate? That's what we're here
Sorry.
for. We're not here to have a damn debate. The reality of the matter is, we are listening seriously to you. I'd be astonished if the shooting clubs take the people do this from what we have seen on the latest stuff we're looking at. We are seriously listening to shooting
I'd have to
clubs.
suggest you're mistaken.
Well, you can keep that view, or you can wait for the evidence. But when it's all over, I bet the shooting clubs are not unhappy with it.
Mr. Peters, there's only a small percentage here of a large group of people, very good people, but we feel that we've become a targeted minority. It's almost as if we've been blamed for planning something, pulling it off and then working on the next one, and we just feel like none of us were there, none of us wanted that to happen. We hate gun crime, but we've been painted as perpetrators. How do you feel?
Not by us, you have.
It's nice to know.
I'd like to congratulate Rod Mark on
Which
his-
one of us has imaged or backed up or said anything about you in that way?
Oh no, but we saw Jonesy last week in Vietnam. Good on you, great fun. We used to have
That's
the
the
same
fun
fun
we
here.
had.
We just want to have fun. We don't want to hurt anybody. We don't want to frighten anybody.
And we're actually the safest people in the community. I mean, the level of vetting that happened for us, you know, I mean, my ex-wife's not a big fan of me or guns, and she still thinks that I should be able to have a firearms licence, you know. I'm sure there's one or two other people here like that too, you know. We're incredibly vetted, and you could even argue that we're the cream of society because the police actually think that we're fit and proper to have firearms. The issue really is that this guy came over, he wasn't vetted obviously in the same way, and everything's happened, and now we're paying the price for it. And what we really hope is that you guys will look hard at this for us and give us your support. Because the scary thing for us is that right now, if this goes through, a policeman can walk into my house at any time of the day or night, demand to see my firearms, and also the policeman can come in and take my firearm off me because they feel that they should do that. There's no process in there, and that's the scary thing. It doesn't happen to any other citizen in this country. It's only specifically targeted at us, and we're the people that are supposed to be the safest people in the community because the police have given us the firearms licence, which is a right, not a privilege.
And so essentially the Hamilton chapter of the mongrel mob has more rights than we do if this bill goes through.
The question was, way at the start, I've forgotten, sorry.
Well, hang
No,
on,
the question, I guess the real question is, do you support the police being able to come into our homes at any time, without even talking to us first or arranging it, to search for firearms and check our firearms.
Giving us less rights than
Any other
If you're
Kiwi.
asking me, do we support the right of genuine licensed gun owners for legitimate purposes? The answer is yes. Say to us, are we out to get the criminal out there who's not engaging in that level of ownership or even registration? The answer is 100%. Our job is to make sure it's balanced, and we treat people fairly, and whatever you might have heard, this party is acutely watching every ground submission as it comes from finality to make sure well before the end of December we've got an answer that we believe is defensible and fair. We're not out to get you. We're gun owners and licensed gun owners ourselves.
But do you support the police being able to barge in to our property at any time they want?
Hang on,
That's part of the amendment.
when was that new in the law?
it's in the
This is an
In
amendment.
the current amendment.
It will only be the law when it gets outside, and it gets outside of this process and remains intact.
Do you support it?
we,
going through?
Will you support
we
the
said that
process?
we are listening to elder submissions, and we'll keep on looking.
Will you stand with us,
Please
Mr.
don't
Peters?
land before the plane while the plane's still flying in the sky.
Will you stand with us and make sure there isn't a register?
Oh, no, sorry, mate. We have to register. Right?
That is the story. We're talking security. People will come to my house if they know the firearms are
Stuffing
registered.
yesterday, and a joke was passed. Oh, here we go. We've got another customer. It's the last customer of the day. And I said, actually, no, I'm a victim, because we had the lost victims, which everyone here is appalled and regrets sincerely. But then we're feeling, as a shooting community, that we are another 250,000 victims, because we feel that our views are not being heard, that things are being pushed through without consultation with us.
Hang on, mate. Actually, stop right there. We're not here for a speech.
Well, I'm just saying.
I'm here for questions. When you say about the registry, all those things sit there. We have to make up our mind, come to a conclusion on that in the ensuing months. I mean, it's October now. We've got a little bit more time to do that. That's number one. Number two, though, you say that your voice represents 250,000
Well,
gun
I'm
owners.
talking about license
Now,
holders.
hang on, mate. You're wrong. I know thousands of gun owners don't hold that view. Whether they're right or wrong is different. But for us, we've got to go right now. But for us, it's the case where we, given our provincial and rural background, seriously understand why we're having this debate. And we're going to listen as carefully as we possibly can. You got guys like Ron here with a long experience in this sort of thing. And I hope when it's all over, whatever you think, you'll think that we've behaved reasonably. How's that?
That'd be
Is there any
fantastic.
remits on the floor of this convention that are related to firearms?
No.
No? Is there any submitted in the past 6 months?
Well, I tell you what, if you want to do something about it, join the party and put a remit up.
Yeah, well, I'd love to.
Well, you should have been.
Mr. Peters, here's a news flash.
What is it?
Could be fake news, but
Oh, well, who wrote that?
Got a question for
Stuff
Shane.
and-
Were you happy with 89 out of 100?
Anyway,
There we go.
thanks for your time.
thank you.
Coming over.
That was the Right Honourable, or the Dishonourable, Winston Peters.
Well done, guys.
And also I didn't clap. Anyway.
You look like you're there, mate.